A parent's anguish over the loss of a child, a detective's frustration over an unsolved murder, an anthropologist's sorrow at the sight of tiny broken bones. Bones is all I hoped it would be, capturing the issues of forensic science, the human side of the participants, and the occasional humor needed to preserve the emotional balance. Tempe is portrayed as a woman and a scientist struggling to control passion, maintain objectivity, and be sensitive to human vulnerability. Each episode underscores the dedication of detectives and lab scientists working hand in hand in the pursuit of justice. In the TV series Bones, Temperance Brennan partners with FBI agent Celie Booth. Though I don't have such a close relationship with any one law enforcement officer, I find this connection to the FBI very fitting. The Bureau was one of the first agencies to recognize the value of forensic anthropology, calling on Smithsonian scientists for help early in the 20th century. Things were looser back then, not so today. Forensic anthropology gained formal recognition in 1972 when the American Academy of Forensic Sciences created a physical anthropology section. The American Board of Forensic Anthropology was formed shortly thereafter. Throughout the 70s, forensic anthropologists expanded their activities to investigate human rights abuses. Labs were set up and mass graves were unearthed in Argentina and Guatemala, later Rwanda, Kosovo, and elsewhere. Our role also grew in the arena of mass disaster recovery. We worked plane crashes, cemetery floods, bombings, the World Trade Center, and most recently, for me, the tragedy of Hurricane Katrina. Still, no one knew our name. Cue the American television show CSI. The breakthrough forensic sleeper attracted millions of viewers, and forensic science was in the air and on the air. We'd had Quincy in the 70s or 80s, but pathology now dazzled. Cold case, without a trace, crossing Jordan, bones, even old-timers like Law and Order beefed up on the ballistics. And popular literature was right in there. Patricia Cornwell, Jeffrey Deaver, Karen Slaughter, and of course me, with my forensic anthropologist heroine, Temperance Brennan. Suddenly, we are rock stars. I like to think that my own novels played some small part in raising awareness of forensic anthropology. When I started the Temperance Brennan books, I had no training in writing. It was a given from the outset that my main character would be based on me, a subject I might know something about. I place Tempe in contexts with which I am familiar and comfortable. Certainly professionally, I identify with her. In the books, she's a bit younger than I am. In the TV series, she's a lot younger than I am. Book Tempe is 40-something and works in a crime lab almost identical to mine, the Laboratoire de Sciences Judiciaires et de Médecine Légale. But Tempe's involvement in cases takes her beyond the lab, more than mine ever has. My work is pretty much restricted to scene recovery, lab analysis, and court testimony. I have a little trouble with some of the impetuous things Tempe did in early books, digging up bodies and confronting victim associates and family members on her own. I would never do that. It's important to me to include humor in my stories. It's an interesting balancing act. Each book deals with death, and it's a challenge to insert humor into that context without being disrespectful. I do think Tempe's sense of humor reflects my own. Friends tell me that when reading the dialogue, they hear my voice quipping the wisecracks. In my books, I offer readers a peek into my own cases and experiences. Déjà Dead is based on my first serial murder investigation. Death du Jour derives from work I performed for the Catholic Church and from the mass murder-suicides that took place within the Solar Temple cult. Deadly Decisions stems from the many bones brought to me grâce à la Quebec, Hell's Angels. Fatal Voyage is based on my disaster recovery work. Grave Secrets was inspired by my participation in the exhumation of a Guatemalan mass grave. In Bare Bones, the investigation into poaching sprang from moose remains I examined. Monday Morning grew from the 3 partial skeletons discovered in the pizza parlor basement. Crossbones draws on my visit to Israel, weaving strangely unreported Masada bones, a burial box purported to be that of Jesus' brother James, and a recently looted tomb from the 1st century into a modern murder plot. Break No Bones opens with a modern skeleton mingled with archaeological remains and pursues an investigation that reveals some very macabre motives for murder. Bones to Ashes, one of my personal favorites, involves time I spent with the Acadian people of Canada, a community of people that savor la vida dolce to the fullest, yet still have to deal with death in their midst. In Devil Bones, I return to my home in Charlotte and explore the world of alternative religions. Last year's release, 206 Bones, deals with the unavoidable downside of the popularity of forensic anthropology and a sore point with me, incompetent or dishonest forensic scientists. My upcoming book, Spider Bones, is based on work I did as a consultant to JPAC, the Joint POW-MIA Accounting Command, the military laboratory dedicated to identifying U.S. dead from World War II, Korea, and Southeast Asia.